Hi everyone, this is Michelle from MaMi's Country Quilts. Welcome to my virtual classroom. Today we are doing a pattern called Twist and Turn, and this is one of our own patterns. It was designed by myself and written by Mika. Beside me here we have two examples up. We have the full size done in the Oiler fabric, NHL fabric, and we have the throw size done in All You Knit Is Love by Canvas Studios. And then the one sample that we're going to be working with today is with fabric from Moda, the flea market collection. So for this pattern, you just need your basic sewing supplies, just your rulers, cutters, rippers, pins. There's no special rulers or anything for it. It's a pattern that was created to work with bigger prints that we wanted to showcase, so we wouldn't be cutting them all up. So it's not a hard pattern, but it's great for showcasing a focus fabric. So for our fabrics today, we need 4 fabrics. So we have our A fabric, which is the focus. So it's going to be this one here. Then our B fabric is our background fabric, which will be this turquoise tone on tone. And then for the twist, we're using 2 button prints. C and D are used for the twist. So D is going to be the twist that's underneath, and C is the twist that's on top. So with that, we're going to start our cutting. So we're going to start cutting with our A fabric. So we're doing a crib size for this quilt, and so we're going to need to cut 2 10.5-inch strips out of your A fabric. So again, I'm just going to start by squaring. So for that, I use 2 rulers. I need one that's 24 inches long by 6 or 8, whatever you have, because we need to cut the length of the fabric here. And I'm using a square, and again, this can be 15, 12, doesn't really matter. So what I do is I start by putting the fold on my fabric is at the bottom, my selvage edges are at the top, and I'm just going to put a line. So one of my lines through here, so my 14-inch line is running right along the fold of my fabric, and I'm just going to, and I just want to take off what I need to take off. Like, you don't want to take off a whole bunch. So that one's straight. So I'm just going to butt up my 24-inch ruler up against my square. Then I'm just going to move my square away, and I'm going to grab my cutter. So I'm going to start with my hand. My thumb's down here. My fingers are splayed across my ruler. I'm starting to cut below the fold up to the tips of my fingers, bring up my thumb, and walk my hand up. And again, so you're just like an inchworm with your hand, and you're cutting all the way up. So by doing that, inching up your ruler like that with your hand, you're preventing your ruler, your 24-inch ruler, from spinning away from you as you're putting pressure with your blade. Now we're ready to cut our strip. So we need 2 10.5-inch strips. So one of the things I like about this 2 rulers squaring method is I don't have to turn my fabric now or spin my mat. I can just start cutting. So we're going to put the 2-inch line on the edge of my fabric. My ruler is 8.5, so plus the 2 will give me a 10.5-inch strip, which is what I need. So I'm going to cut that. So again, when I'm cutting, my hand is across my ruler. I start cutting before the fold, up to the tip of my first finger here, inch up, stop, inch up, and stop. And I'm going to move my rulers and move my strip away, and I'm going to cut another one. So again, and I need 2 inches from this one. So 2 plus my 8.5 will give me 10.5. So again, I'm starting to cut below my fold, inch up, stop, inch up. Okay, so that's my 2 strips for that one. So the first cut we're doing is a width of fabric cut. So in your pattern, it'll say to cut so many strips width of fabric. So for your crib size, it's asking us to cut 2 of those strips. And then it's asking us to cut 8 10.5-inch squares. So we can leave this folded in half and cut 2 at a time. So again, I'm just going to take off my selvage edge. So I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to cut 10.5. So I'm going to use my square for that. And I'm going on my 10.5. So that's going to be 2. And I should be able to get another 2 out of here. So that's 4 altogether. And I'll do the same thing with my second strip. So again, I'm just going to cut off my selvage edge. And 10.5. So again, I'm cutting 2 at a time here. Okay, so that gives us our 8 10.5 by 10.5, and we're going to label those AA. So you're going to put a capital A, small a on this stack, and then we'll put that aside. I've got some more cut here, so I'm going to just put those underneath. And then we're going to pull out our B fabric, which is our background fabric, and this one we're going to cut 3-inch strips, and we need 5 of them. So again, we're going to square off our fabric. So again, I'm just using my square, running my 14-inch line across the fold of my fabric. And I'm just going to butt my 24-inch ruler up against my square. I'm going to have to move over a little bit. Like that. Move this away. So again, I'm starting below my fold, moving my hand up, stopping, moving up, and stopping. Got that. So now I need 3-inch strips, and I need 5 of them. I'm just going to cut one here because I already have mine cut. So we're doing 3 inches. I'm putting my 3-inch line on my ruler. I'm putting my 3-inch line on the edge of my fabric. And again, I'm cutting below my fold, stopping at my tips of my fingers, inching up, stopping, inching up, and stopping. So you're going to continue cutting your strips. You need 5 of them. Okay, so I'm just going to cut my selvage off before I start subcutting. So this one we need 2 cuts out of this 3-inch strip. We need some 3-inch by 3-inch squares, and we need some 3-inch by 5.5-inch squares. So we need 28 of the 3 by 3-inch, and we need 14 of the 3 by 5.5-inch. So you're just going to go ahead and subcut those pieces out of there. I have mine cut already, so I'm just going to pull mine out. So what you should have is 14 of the B, which are going to be 3 by 5.5, and you should have 28 of the capital B small a. So just tag those like that, so you know which pieces are which. Then we'll move on to our C fabric. So again, we're just going to square that fabric up, and again we're cutting 3-inch strip out of here, and we need 3 3-inch strips this time. So again, we're just squaring before we start cutting our strips. So you're just going to, I'm just going to put a straight line on my fold. And then butt up my 24-inch ruler against my square, move my square away, start cutting below your square, below your thumb, stop at the top of your fingers, inch up, stop, inch up, and then cut all the way up. So we're cutting 3 inches again. So I'm putting my 3-inch line on the edge of my fabric, and again I start cutting below my fold and my thumb, stop, inch up, stop, inch up, and to the end. So you're going to cut 3 of those. I have mine cut, so I'm not going to cut any more. And again, to subcut, you just flip your strip this way, and you're going to cut off your selvage. And for this one, we're cutting 2 cuts again. We need 7 pieces that are 3 inches by 5.5. So you're going to cut 5.5 like this. And then you're also going to cut 8 inches. So we need 7 each of those. So again, you're going to label those. The 3 by 5.5 is going to be labeled CA. And your 3 by 8 inch is going to be labeled CB. So once you have those cut, just label your piles and put them to the side. And then we're going to grab our D fabric. And again, same thing, we're going to square first. So again, I'm just going to put my 24-inch on the edge and grab my square. And I'm going to run a line through my fold. And I'm just going to take off as little as I can. Start cutting below the fold. Inch up, all the way up. Okay, so now I'm going to cut 3-inch strip again. This time we only need 2 3-inch strips. So I'm just going to cut 1. So my 3-inch line is on the edge of my fabric. Cutting below, start cutting below your fold, below my thumb. Stop, inch up, stop, inch up. I'm not going to cut the second strip because I already have mine cut. So this one has only 1 subcut and they're a 3-inch by 3-inch piece. So again, I'm just going to cut my selvage off. And again, you're just going to cut 3-inch squares all the way across your strip, and you need 21 of those squares. So once you have those cut, you're going to label that pile DA. So at this time, we're going to set up the block for sewing. And if you notice on your instruction page, you'll have a chart for the different sizes of quilts that you're cutting, whether you're cutting a crib, a throw, a full, or queen or king. And at the bottom in chart number 2, it tells you how many blocks you need. So for our crib, we need 8 of the feature blocks, feature fabrics, and then we're going to be piecing 7 blocks. So it's just telling you that we need 15 blocks in total for this quilt. So it just gives you an idea of what you're doing. And then on the other page, there's going to be a diagram which helps you set up your block. So we know that we're doing 7 piece blocks. So what I've done with my fabric is I've put my pieces in piles of 7. So I need this DA in 3 spots of my block. And I've done the same thing with my C fabric. I've got 2 piles. 1 pile of 7 of my 3x8 and 1 pile of 7 of my 3x5.5. And for my B fabric, I have 2 piles of 7 for my 3x5.5, and I have 4 piles of 7 for my 3x3 inch squares, and then I have my 8 A blocks, which is my feature block. So this one is already done. It's ready to start sewing in the rows. So I'm just going to put that one to the side for now. And we're going to set up this block. So the block starts with a BA. So I'm going to take 1 pile and put it here. And then a DA. So that's going to be this one. And I'm just going to label each pile here just so you can see. So this is a DA. And then we have a CA, which is going to go here. Then we have a BB, which is going up here. And this is going to be a BB as well. And then we have another BA. So this one is going here, and then we have our CB, which is going here. We have a DA here, and a BA here. And then we have the second pile of BB down here with a DA. And a BA. So this is what the block is going to be like. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew all of our BAs to our DAs here, like that. And then we're going to sew the CA onto that. And then we're going to sew our DA and our BAs together here. And then we're going to sew the BB to that. So you're going to have these 2 groups like this, and then you're going to sew these 2 together to make half of your block. For the bottom half, you're going to sew the BA to your CB to create this 3rd row. And then you're going to, for your last row, you're going to sew your 3 together. So the BB to the DA to the BA. And then you'll sew row 3 and 4 together, and then you're going to sew the 2 halves together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, and then I'll be right back. Hi everyone, I'm back with my piece blocks for the twist and turn quilt. So we have 7 of these blocks, and then we'll bring in our 8 focus blocks, or AA blocks, and we're now going to set up our rows to build the rest of our quilt. So we're going to start with 1 of the A blocks, then a piece block, and these ones you have to be careful how you set them up, because you can twist and turn them the wrong way. So you want to have the top twist going like that, and then you're going to put another A. So the crib quilt only has 3 blocks in one row, and we have 5 rows, so we're going to set up, the second row is going to be the opposite of this one, so you're going to put your AA in the center, and your twist block is going to be on either side of that. So again, the twist is going the same way as this one, and on the other side it's going to be the opposite. So the twist is now going opposite of this one. Alright, so we're going to need set up our other rows here. So that's 2, and then 3, we're back to our AA block, and then another twist, and again this one is going the opposite of this one, so these two are the same. Sorry, got this one twisted like that, and then you put another A block, and then your 4th row, you're going to twist your block so that it's the opposite of this one, so they're kind of facing each other, and then your A block is going to go in the center, and your twist is going to be this way. So you can see here a pattern happening, so these twists, the diagonals are going the same way. And then your last row is going to be 2 A's and a twist, and again this one's going to be the same as this one. So that's the 5 rows that we're going to have set up for the crib quilt. So I'm going to go ahead and sew those together. I'm going to sew 1 row and then just show you how to press it. So you're just going to put this, so make sure again when you're putting your rows together, don't twist this block as you're going, just take it and flip it right on top of your A block. And you can either use pins here to mark your sew side if you're a ways away from your machine, or grab it like this, bring it to your machine so you know that's the side that you're sewing. So I'm just going to lay this back here, then grab my other A block, and again I'm just flipping it over like that. Also, you have to be careful if your fabric is directional, make sure it's sitting the right way. Okay, so when you're going to go press this, we want to press our seams towards your A blocks. So you're going to go to your iron, I always like to start pressing from the back side just so that I know my seams aren't twisting, and then I'll go back and press from the front. So that's your first row. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the rest of my rows, and I'll be right back. Alright, I have my rows all sewn together for our twist and turn quilt. So you can see here I have my row 1. And you'll also notice here that I've got a label up here saying that this is row 1. So this is a little trick that we use to keep our rows in order, number 1, and it also tells us that this is the left side of the quilt, so you're not getting your rows flipped. Very important when you have a pattern happening, like with this piece block. And also if you have a focus fabric that's directional, because if you turn this around, everything's going to be upside down. So we have our rows numbered as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you also want to double check to make sure you have everything turned the right way before you start sewing your rows together. So I'm going to make sure that my top twist looks like an L, so the diagonal block to that will have the same twist, the right side up L like this. And then my other twisted block is going to have an upside down L, and that one diagonally will all be upside down. So you can see here that that's upside down, this one's upside down. And then these two will be right side up again. So right side up and right side up L's. So just make sure that everything is right before we sew everything together. So when we had you pressing your blocks, when you're piecing your rows, we had you pressing towards the A blocks or your focus fabric. So now when you put these two together, your seams are going to be nested. So that's going to make it easier to match that seam up. So you're just going to butt that up. Oops, and grab my row 4 here. So when you take this, you're going to just be able to snug this up together like that. Just snug it up and then grab a pin and pin that together. So I'm just going to pin across, so from that side to that side. And same thing with this one. So I'm going to just snug those up together. Just because we're pinning doesn't mean it's going to match the seam. It just means we attempted to match the seam, and hopefully it'll match. So I always pin my match points first, and then I will match my ends. So just match your end of your rows, and pin there, and pin here. So if you don't pin when you're doing long rows like this is a fairly short row, but as your rows get longer, it's very easy for them to get moved, and they'll get staggered instead of being right one on top of the other. So we like to use our pins for doing that. So I'm going to sew this together, and then I will also sew the rest of my quilt, and then I'll be right back. Alright, I have all of my rows sewn together, and so this is what the crib size quilt looks like for the twist and turn pattern. At this point you can go ahead and quilt it and bind it, or if you feel you want to have a little bit more and add a border, you can do that too. You can see on our sample, on our one sample with the All You Knit Is Love collection, we put a border on that one, and on the NHL fabric we chose not to. So you can, it's whatever you want to do. So you can make that decision at this point, and that's it for our class. Thanks for joining us.